Now, if you're getting into this art game and you're serious about it and you want to build a career doing it, you probably Googled a couple of questions such as, how do I get a career as a concept artist in video games? Or, how do I become an animator? That sort of a thing. And you're going to get a lot of different advice. Some of it's going to work, some of it's not. Why is that? And what advice can you actually know is true and you can actually follow? And this can be very frustrating. You could tune into 100 different art advice channels or book publishing advice channels. You could be pulling your hair out, going in multiple different directions all over the place, and then none of it works. And then you're like, well, screw it. I guess I just wasn't talented enough, or I guess I didn't have the right opportunities. And I want to help you avoid all that. So I'm going to suggest that this is the only advice that you really need, and that is to just start making stuff. Because making entertainment, it isn't like brain surgery. It isn't like something where you need to understand. You're not building rockets. You don't have to understand physics. For example, if you want to publish books, you want to be an author, you want to be a writer, just go online, look up like how to publish books, get the stuff out there and start collecting data yourself. Because yeah, you could talk to an animator and that animator might tell you, oh, you should go and apply here or go to this convention or talk to that person or this person. They could tell you, oh, you got to have these kind of pieces in your portfolio, or you got to make your cover letter look like this or sound like that or whatever. All the little nuances and all the little details that aren't going to actually help you, because every situation is going to be different and it's ever evolving and ever changing. And yes, collecting data, collecting feedback from professionals that have done the thing that you're trying to do is valuable, but that's the nuance. That's the secondary stuff. The more important thing is get out there and make stuff. Most people don't do that. They want to work in video games, but they never make indie games. They don't take any courses on actual concept art. They're too busy chasing after Instagram artists. They're pursuing the wrong thing and they don't even realize it because they're not actually making the stuff. If you start making games, you learn the difference between concept art and illustration, for example. When you start making things, you realize how they're actually constructed, and then that makes you more employable. That's why companies want people with experience. You can make your own experience by making stuff. If you want to make art for games, for example, but you show your art to a 3D artist and they can't build it, well, that's a clear indicator that you are not suitable to be making concept art for games. It's so important that you just start making stuff. So many people will say, oh, I can't make YouTube videos. I don't have the expensive camera equipment. I don't have the expensive microphone. You don't need that to get started, man. So yeah, you can learn a lot from listening to other people, collecting information on how to pursue your goal and how to improve at your craft. But none of it's going to be as valuable as your own empirical evidence, your own experiences. And I looked back on my life and all the things that I had done. I self-published comics when I was only 16 years old. I got into the video game industry, which was my lifelong dream by the time I was 25, and was able to build my own game development studio simply from following this one simple principle. Just frickin' do it. I know that sounds so stupid, but it's the best advice that you could possibly get. Now, before you get upset at me and say, oh, Trent, that's too simple. What about all the minutia? What about all the ifs, then, that? Well, what about this person? What about that person? What should I say when I'm interviewing? What should I have in my portfolio? All these questions are consequences of things that you will find from just the experience of practicing and doing and paying attention. So it's not just as simple as just doing it, because you certainly have to be paying attention when you're doing it too. And that means adapting and adopting new techniques, paying attention to the feedback you're getting. But the long and the short of it is, if you don't get out there and make stuff, then how are you going to learn? Let's say, just as an example, to back up what I was saying before, let's say that you want to start a YouTube channel. Well, how do you become a successful YouTuber? You could go online right now and you'll find a bunch of videos saying, oh, get this equipment, get this kind of microphone, get this kind of camera. Oh, you have to be on camera. Oh, you have to have this kind of content. Oh, you have to say this kind of a thing or say that kind of a thing. Or, oh, you got to make it for 8-year-olds, or, oh, you got to make it for Minecraft videos or whatever. And then you go and you find that you do that and it doesn't freaking work. Well, why the heck not? Well, because a million other people watch the same video and they're all doing the same thing. And you got to do something different. And that means that you have to learn by your own empirical evidence, your own empirical experiences. Everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses. You got to kind of find what works for you. And no one general, tip or whatever is going to apply to everybody, right? Because we're all different. We all have different strengths. It's the same thing with choosing your art style. It's the same thing with choosing which career path you want to pursue. You know, if you have a certain art style, it might not really fit very well for making games, for example. If you're a much more stylized artist, it's going to be really hard for you to try to paint photorealistically, for example, or vice versa. But I could point to about 500 videos online right now that'll say, hey, paint in this certain art style or whatever, and that'll get you jobs. Not necessarily, not for everybody. However, if you were to just stop listening to the noise and start making stuff and actually releasing it, even if it's not great, and then analyzing what's working and what's not working, you will get your feedback. You will get your inventory of items that you can work on. So stop worrying about getting it right and just make something. Put it out there, put out your YouTube video, analyze the feedback, analyze the reaction. If you didn't get a reaction, try something more interesting or a little bit more intense. Maybe even then you start to look into the nuance of things. And then you do another one, and then your next one is better than the last one, and the next one's better than the last one. Before you know it, you've got experience. Before you know it, you're getting better at it on your own. You're self-fixing, you're self-repairing. Your 100th video should be better than the first one that you did, or at least more enjoyable for you to make. That's another factor. If you're following what everybody else is telling you to do, it can drive you freaking nuts. You could be just chasing after their dream. You could be chasing after what they wanted, but maybe it didn't work for them. Maybe the thing that you're going to do is going to work, and the thing that they did didn't work, and you would have taken their advice and just followed the same path of failure that they had. So just get out there and do. Get out there and make your indie game. Get out there and make your comic book. Get out there and write your first novel. Make your first art book. If you want to work in video games as a concept artist, get out there and join a group of people making indie games and put out a game as a concept artist. That's experience, baby. That means that you know a little bit more than what you did before you started, before you put out something, before you made a product. Whatever it is that you're dreaming of making, just make something. Even if it's not great, it's better than not doing it at all. You will never have a chance if you're still preparing. If you're going out and you're waiting for like, oh, I need a better camera. Oh, I need better equipment. Oh, I need better this. I need better that. Well, of course, I can't make a movie because I don't have $10 million or $50 million. Well, nobody's going to give you $50 million if you never made a movie with $0. You need to go out there with your cell phone and make a movie. If you really want to be making movies and you got no resources, make something kick-ass with what you got. It doesn't matter if it's nothing but pencils and paper. Just make something with what you got. The internet is mostly free. Because I can tell you what doesn't work. Doing nothing. Doing nothing is not going to work. Waiting for someone to discover you and you never even put out any content, that's not going to work for sure, right? You scared about people stealing your ideas or stealing your art online? Well, guess what? Nobody's going to even know that you exist if you never post anywhere online. If you never put out a product, if you never put out your book, if you never even even make that effort to put something out, then nobody's going to discover you, and even you won't know if you can do it or not. And nobody's going to put faith in you because there's a million other people who are just doing it. Also, when you're feeling like, oh, maybe I'm just not good enough to be putting my stuff out there, consider all the millions of subscribers and followers that some people get from just making something like a subpar animation. Like there are YouTubers out there, there are creators that are just doing what I would consider, as a professional, I would consider mediocre content, but they found their audience. And so what you might think is not great, somebody else might think is absolutely fantastic. And the only difference between you as a creator and that other person with the millions of subscribers is that they believed in themselves enough and they believed in what they were making, that they were just having fun. They just kept making. That's the difference. They just kept making stuff. And I know some people, they lose heart when they see something that really sucks, that gets like tons and tons of views and subscribers, but I actually get really motivated by that because I'm like, whoa, I really just need to keep making stuff. And then you get better and you repeat cycle, and then one day people go, wow, how did you get so good? Well, I just kept doing. But you can't get there if you're just trying all the little things that everybody else is saying. Oh, do this, no, do that, draw in this style, or you should be doing shorts. Well, okay, if that's your thing and you like doing that, then great. If not, don't change what you are to just follow the latest trend or what other people said you should be doing. Then why not work for you? Don't have time to make your 400-page graphic novel? Start with an 8-page story. Just finish it. Put it up online somewhere. And it doesn't cost you anything to get printed copies of your books. If you're interested in self-publishing, I have a workshop over on my Gumroad channel about making comics. It's how I got my start when I was a teenager, and it's never too late. You can be making your own books, you can be making your own art books, you could be making your own novels, and that could lead into whatever your other bigger dream is. If you just like world building, just make stuff. Start putting it up online, build an audience, build a following, at least build a community or get involved in one that already exists. And you will at least be more on your way than if you had never started and never got into it, or you were still just waiting for somebody's advice to work. Take the knowledge, take the experience, take all of that with you and build the confidence to be able to do bigger and bigger things. But if you never even set out on that trail, you'll never get to your destination. If you need a little help with the nuance, you just want to improve your art skills, I do have some tutorials over on my Gumroad channel. You can check those out, as well as getting my brushes, etc., or learning how to publish your own books. And for those who don't know, I have a massive amount of real-time videos of almost every painting that I do, and I've been doing that for 10 years. I've just put together a 10-year collection. That's like thousands of hours of tutorials. And so if you like my art and you want to know how I do it, I documented it all. Nothing is hidden on all those box sets of tutorials over on my Gumroad channel. I started my channel to help artists develop their career as an artist and develop their skills. So if you're into that, please do subscribe. If you're making something, please drop a link to it in the comments below. I'm going to challenge you, man. I'm going to see who's really up to the task, who's really pursuing their dreams. If you got nothing to link to, then man, I think you know what to do. Get to cracking, get to making stuff, man. I want to thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to push some buttons under the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. All right, ciao.